I'll start. Patty Puckett. I'm president of the club. I'm a financial advisor. I own the franchise of Ameriprise Financial here in Douglasville. I want to mention a couple of things on your table. You have today's program, and also you have a brochure which tells a little bit more about our club, the causes that we support, a list of the members, and a little more information for you to take with you. And so what is Rotary? We're an international organization of 1.2 million members, but locally we're a group of business and professional people, retired people that get together to do good in our community, as well as doing well for others internationally. And I've got a short video to show you that'll tell you more about Rotary.
What would it take to change the world? Provide food to the hungry and water to the thirsty. Teach children to read and keep them healthy. Shelter families and train a new generation. Give the poor a chance to better themselves. Create a worldwide network of peacemakers and conquer a disease that has killed or crippled millions. Could one person do it? What about 1.2 million?
Yeah, my name is Frank Wessel.
Tamara DeWitt.
Gaston Cabate. Petreva.
Eu sou Adélia Vilas.
Dr. Naresh Goya.
Mon nom est Awa Omar.
Gary Parrish.
Warren Kaufman.
Lisa Simmons.
Eric Kimani.
Meu nome é Eduardo.
Singh Arora.
Megan Coutinho.
These men and women are changing the world. They're members of Rotary. Professionals and community leaders organized into more than 32,000 clubs worldwide. They volunteer at the local, regional, and international levels and dedicate themselves to a simple motto: service above self.
That's what Rotary is all about. Vision to see, faith to believe, and courage to act.
So many of us, we sit back and we go, gee, I'd really like to help somewhere in the world, but I don't know how to do it. And Rotary gives you all the tools you need.
Personalmente tengo.
Just the fact that you are a Rotarian opens doors all over the world.
For members of Rotary, no project is too big. Working with UNICEF, the World Health Organization, and the CDC, Rotary has immunized more than 2 billion children against polio and reduced the disease by more than 99% worldwide.
With not too many dollars, these Rotarians and our partners are doing a tremendous job, very effectively, very efficiently.
Rotary has spent more than $500 million on international scholarships and foreign exchange, while its graduate-level programs in conflict resolution train peacemakers from around the world.
When I started working for Interpol at the United Nations, I already had the background to understand international relations.
For Rotary members, the reward is immense and immediate.
Helping others is one of the things that they really enjoy. It makes my day.
The salary I receive spiritually is so huge that you cannot put a value on it.
Being a Rotarian is almost selfish. Yes, I help people, but I get so much in return.
When our world seems senseless and even hopeless, Rotary Club members of all races, colors, and creeds join together to care.
Hopefully we can bring some hope and some help, emotionally as well as physically.
To protect.
The job that is to be done can be done.
To connect.
But no one has a dry eye at the end of these projects because the kids will come back and ask for a picture with their doctor.
And to make a difference.
It is possible because we are Rotarians. We can do it. We should do it.
But even for 1.2 million volunteers, changing the world is no easy task. Learn how you can become involved.
It only takes a drop to make a river. And all we have to do is just make sure that we are in the right direction, we are committed to it, and it will get done.
Rotary International. Ordinary people working together to accomplish extraordinary things.
At this time, I'd like to introduce a very special person, one of the local stars of Rotary, our Assistant District Governor, Alicia Michael, will tell you from her perspective. Thank you, Alicia.
Good afternoon. Thank you again for having me. I don't know so much about local stars. I was telling John Thornton and his guest earlier, it's just a gold badge and I don't have a gun. So he did say he had an extra one in his car, so don't get out of hand, okay? President Patty had asked me to come speak to you all briefly today, and it was about why I became a Rotarian. And I can honestly tell each and every one of you that I did not choose Rotary. Rotary chose me. I was looking for a way to give back to my community. I couldn't find it. I just couldn't seem to settle into anything. I wasn't comfortable with anything. And a dear friend of mine that I've known since I was 16 years old invited me to a Rotary meeting. And, okay, I went a couple of times, didn't go back. And then he called me up one day a couple of months later. He said, "Where'd you go?" I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "You're coming back." So I went back again. A couple meetings later, I joined. Still didn't really know where my place was in my Rotary Club. Didn't know what Rotary was really all about. But I did join. I helped to participate in the fundraisers, and I did the occasional service project with our club and got a little bit of the feel good about it, and you know, enjoyed the company on Wednesday mornings and the breakfast, and we did all of that. And after a couple of years of being in Rotary, I was sitting in my office one day, and like I said, I own a body shop, and I do a lot of work with Enterprise because my customers get into rental cars. So one day I'm sitting there minding my own business, and this woman walks in that works for Enterprise. And I never met her before, never seen her before. She didn't live around here. She was from Atlanta, and she was their new district area representative. And she had just stopped by that day to make sure that we were satisfied with the way the local Enterprise was treating us and treating our customers. I told her to have a seat. We would chat for a minute. And all of a sudden, she looked at me and she goes, "Are you a Rotarian?" I said, "Yes." You know, asking the question, "Why do you ask?" And she had seen the plaques that hang on my wall that up until that day I took for granted every day. And it was the 4-way test and the object of Rotary that was given to me when I became a member of Rotary. And she had seen the Rotary wheel on those plaques. And I looked back at her and I said, "What do you know about Rotary?" And all of a sudden, this woman that I've never met before has these huge crocodile tears in her eyes. And she looked at me and she said, "Rotary changed my life." Okay, can you tell me how? And she said, "In my hometown, my local Rotary Club submitted me for an ambassadorial scholarship, and I received the scholarship. This enabled her to spend 1 year overseas studying and learning about peace resolution." And she told me, she said, "I've never seen the world the same way since." She said, "And I would have never been able to afford that opportunity if it had not been for Rotary." So this is a complete stranger that's walked in my door that I didn't personally have any hand in helping, but the organization of Rotary that I'm a part of and that each member here is a part of did have a hand in helping. You know, we do so many different things. We vaccinate children to keep them from getting the horrible disease of polio. We teach people to read, which just provides them with so many, you know, so many benefits to themselves and their family. We feed hungry. We provide clean water for people who have never even seen clean water. They don't even know what it means until we provide it for them. And so I would just like to ask all of you that are members to keep doing what you're doing, because it really does make a difference. And you may never see that individual, but you just never know when that individual may walk in your door and tell you that story, and it'll stay with you forever. And that's what takes you from being a member of Rotary to actually being a Rotarian. And what you're doing is very important, and I really do hope that the members here will encourage these guests, and I hope these guests here, I would like to encourage you. It is an amazing organization, something I've never been a part of before, and I really hope that you do consider joining Rotary. Thank you very much. I would at this time like to ask John Thornton to please come up for just a moment. This is part of the fun thing that I get to do here. So John Thornton, for those of you that don't know, is a huge part of the polio eradication efforts with Rotary and has been for a very long time. And your club, he has made sure, always participates heavily in the $200 million Gates Foundation Challenge. And this is where Bill and Melinda Gates have agreed to give us, it started out at $200 million, but they've upped the ante, and I'm going to let him tell you about that. But where the Gates Foundation has agreed to match funds if we raise a certain number of funds. And the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International wanted to present the Rotary Club of Douglas County with this certificate just in appreciation for your financial contribution as a club. And like I said, I know you have a huge hand in that with your club, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. And he's going to speak to you now because, like I said, he knows all about the polio thing. So.
Polio is one of these things I can talk about the rest of the day, so I'm going to try to keep this brief, and if Patty, you'll wave at me if I'm getting carried away here. A lot of you may be asking, why is Rotary so concerned about eradicating polio? You know, you may never even have dreamed polio was still out there. Some of you may have never seen anybody with polio. It's been eradicated from this country, it's officially about 1990. For all practical purposes, it's been gone in this country since the 1960s. But prior to that, it was a horrible killer and crippler in this country as well as the rest of the world, as it still is in parts of the world. It's known to be the biggest crippler the world has ever seen. It's wreaked more havoc on people all the way from a mild case that seemed like the flu that many people had, never knew they had polio, to the worst case where it attacked the brain and spinal column, and it actually prevented people from being able to continue to breathe, much less walk or use their limbs. In the 50s and 60s, people were routinely seen in iron lungs. Iron lungs were doing the breathing for them. And as you may find this hard to believe, as I did a year or two ago, there are still a handful of people in this country living in iron lungs because that's what they got started in when they got polio, and they've never been able to come out of it. But there are a lot better ways of treating those people, certainly nowadays, but the real need is to eliminate polio. And there is no cure for polio. Polio is an infectious disease that is spread from person to person primarily. It's very contagious. You can only wipe it out over a period of time. It strikes primarily the young, 5 and under primarily. I don't know, many of you may see people every day that maybe have a severe limp or something like that, and you may wonder, I wonder how that happened. Well, if they're my age, it most likely was polio. I know a lot of people that today are very, very successful people that suffered from polio as children. Unfortunately, there is something called polio syndrome that reoccurs sometimes 40, 50, 60 years later, brings on all the symptoms of polio again. And unfortunately, people usually succumb to it. Not everyone that was stricken by polio suffers from polio syndrome, thankfully. But it is very much still a part of our way of life because it affects it so much. But primarily, it could be brought back to this country or any part of the world with just a plane ride, and it has been several times in the last few years. You got a concentration of what's left of polio in 4 main countries: India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. Yeah, there are cases that pop up in other places. And how do we know that? Well, Rotary over the last 25 years has helped build infrastructure in as far as clinics and labs all over the world to track polio. We know of every type polio that's ever been in existence. We know what region of what country it comes from. We know if it's usually in India and it shows up in South America, it came from India. And we can usually track it back to the neighborhood it came from, just from tracking data of who traveled where. But all that's great, and we have a great handle on it, but we're, just this far from wiping it out. Rotary, very first foundation grant in about 1917 was for $500 to a crippled children's organization. Children were primarily crippled in those days by polio. So I'm going to tell you that Rotary has been involved in fighting polio from its very first grant. It continued to do everything it could. It joined with Easter seals, as many of you I'm sure will remember, back in the 40s and 50s and even the 60s. Easter seals was actually started by FDR before he was a famous president. FDR suffered and succumbed to polio. Warm Springs is obviously where he sought and received his best treatment, and Warm Springs is quite the focus of polio now, and that the Smithsonian exhibit was moved there by Rotary a few years ago, and there's just a lot there. If you ever want to see what polio looked like in this country in every part of the last century, that's a good place to do it. Why now and continuing the fight? We actually started this part of our fight in 1985. When we get through, we will have raised about $1 billion just in Rotary. There will have been about $5 billion spent worldwide by the World Health Organization, the CDC, I'm always forgetting one of them, UNICEF. A lot of countries give a lot of money. One foundation, personal foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that Alicia mentioned a minute ago, has pledged $355 million. If Rotary will match it with $200 million. Well, as of the end of March, Rotary had raised $167.5 million of that $200 million. And we've got until the end of June next year to raise the remaining $32 million. And I can promise you we'll do it. In our district here, there are 70 some odd clubs. Our district is pretty active in fundraising for Rotary and activities supporting Rotary worldwide. Our club is currently 6th out of 70 some odd in giving to polio. We've been as high as 4th. I suspect we'll finish as high as 4th. We're not very far behind 4th and 5th right now. So I feel very confident we'll finish in good standing. But I want to tell you a little bit about how much we've got to go yet. India has come, India is one of the most populous countries in the world. Since '07, there's been hundreds of millions of Indian children vaccinated multiple times. it just keeps coming back, and we have found that going back and revaccinating is the only way to protect these children. And some of these kids have received as many 6 or 7 or even more vaccinations. But it's working. India is getting very, very close to having eradicated polio. It's a fight that we're winning there. Pakistan, we don't get the support there of local officials, much less the main government. Afghanistan is even worse, as you can imagine. Nigeria, there's been a lot of progress made. And most of all this work is getting done by Rotarians in these countries. Some of these countries don't have many Rotary clubs. Afghanistan would be a real good example of that. Thus, it's probably the toughest country we've got to conquer in this. But it's a fight that we will win. It's a fight that's going to save the world from the most debilitating disease the world has ever known. And it's something to be proud to be a part of. We have Rotarians that have given as little as $25 and are just as much a part of this fight as those that have gone to India and helped vaccinate and given thousands of their own dollars. I think those people are very, very brave. I admire them very much. Wish I could say I was one of them. But it takes a lot from everyone. The India success, I think you can primarily point to the clubs in India. There's thousands of clubs in India, and those members have gone door to door. They've set up fairs inside towns and had people come in. They do whatever it takes. Some of these areas, and I never would have dreamed some of this stuff, but in the spring and summer months, these tribes of people live in one area. The weather changes, they move to an entirely different area. And they take their diseases or whatever with them. And you may have vaccinated people over here that were fine in the spring and summer months, and then when these people you didn't reach and didn't get vaccinated move there for the winter, it starts all over. And it's taken a long time to figure all that out and track it all and narrow it down, but Rotary has persevered, and I feel sure we will meet the $200 million challenge, which to me is a minor thing compared to meeting the overall goal of eradicating polio worldwide. Certainly, Bill and Melinda Gates deserve a lot of credit for bringing attention to Rotary in these years, last few years, as it's hard to get people in this country in, say, South America or Western Europe or even Eastern Europe, most of Africa, interested because polio is no longer a factor in their lives. But it could be just with one visit from somebody that doesn't even know they're carrying the virus. So we're still at risk. Everyone's still at risk until it's eradicated. So if you haven't ever taken an opportunity to fight polio, and you want to as a Rotarian or you want to as an individual, you can do it as simply as putting your spare change in a milk carton bank like I've left on these tables, and I've got a few left over if anybody wants to take one home. They'll hold anywhere from $18 to $25 worth of change, depending on what you're putting in there. And we've got a lot of members in this room that have given to polio and then come back and done one of these as a little challenge, and every little part helps and will help get us there. I think we've got a video that I don't know how to turn on, so I think you will. So thanks for indulging me, and please take every opportunity to get to fight polio.
Thank you. And this video tells you a little more about the process, and it also features some local people in India.
Since the mid-1980s, Rotary International's Polio Plus program has fought to eradicate polio worldwide. Working with its partners in the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, raising and deploying hundreds of millions of dollars and relying on tens of thousands of tireless volunteers, the international humanitarian organization has helped immunize more than 2 billion children. Polio cases have declined more than 99%, and the number of polio endemic countries has dropped from 125 to only 4. One of those countries is India. But even here, with a population of 1 billion people, fewer than 1,000 new cases are reported each year. Many occur in the state of Uttar Pradesh, where population density, malnutrition, and poor sanitation lead to chronic illness. Under such conditions, children need extra doses of the polio vaccine.
They used to say that 3 doses of the vaccine are enough. In southern India, they found perhaps 7 were enough. In other parts of India, the number went up to 12. Here in UP, perhaps even 17 or 18 is not enough.
The government's immunization program needs additional support.
These kids tend to contract polio because they've not received the birth dose or the doses thereafter.
So, several times a year, Rotary's National Polio Plus Committee in India stages immunization days, often covering as much as 70% of the country. A group of American Rotary Club members visited India during one such event.
My wife Charlene said one day, we've given a lot of money, our district has, but we've never seen this thing and we've never been there.
What they witnessed took their breath away. In Uttar Pradesh alone, health workers dispensed polio vaccine at more than 100,000 immunization booths. In the industrial city of Moradabad, the city's 13 Rotary clubs sponsored 65 booths and provided support to more than 2,800 others.
It's incredible. With not too many dollars, these Rotarians and our partners in the World Health Organization, with UNICEF and the state of India are doing a tremendous job, very effectively, very efficiently.
And I'm proud of my Rotarians of this district, of Moradabad. They are working very hard. They are working very hard.
I watched a father bring his baby this morning to be immunized. After that was done, he shook each of the Rotarians' hands, shook their hand, and put his hand to his heart, as if to say thank you for saving this child.
By the end of Booth Day, more than 17 million infants and children had been immunized in Uttar Pradesh alone. Still, that left more than half unaccounted for. So, for the next 6 days, teams of government health workers visited every house in every village in Uttar Pradesh.
They have 125,000 workers who are going from door to door in the entire state. The figures are mind-boggling.
When the week was over, as many as 136 million children had been immunized. And the dream of Rotary's Polio Plus campaign, happy, healthy children in a polio-free India, was still very much alive.
Well, one thing we hope to do on this trip is to be able to go back and tell other Rotarians how close we are, really, to finishing this task.
If we don't get those last handful of cases, really, polio will come back, probably stronger than it ever was. So this is a big push, and in a very compact sort of time frame. "99% of the job is done. We cannot give it up only at the last hurdle. We've got to cross that hurdle. And believe me, the job that is to be done can be done.
You can help Rotary end polio forever at rotary.org/endpolio.
Well, if you just need one reason to be in Rotary, I think that's it, because you can say you've really helped the world become a better place and eliminate a terrible, crippling disease. So thank you, John Thornton, for your presentation, and hope you all appreciated seeing some of that. And yes, everywhere Robert goes, you hear Charlene, and he always squeezes in pictures of his grandchildren no matter what's going on. He snuck them in at the district conference or at the district assembly this last time in the middle of a presentation. So he's a good guy. At this time, I'd like to bring up our membership director, Mary Jane King, to talk to you a little bit, and I'm going to pass out some packets to our guests today. Mary Jane?
I just want to, on behalf of myself and my fellow Rotarians, thank you very much for coming and sharing lunch with us and allowing us to share what we are so passionate about, and that's Rotary, what we are and what we are about. If this is something that you would like to be a part of, Patty has a packet going around, and there is a form for you to fill out, and you can either leave it today, email it, fax it, or mail it through the normal mail, I guess. And if it is something that you're still considering, please, in the packet there is more information, and still you haven't decided, inside our bulletin, if you can all take one, there's some upcoming events. Maybe you'd like to take one more visit to make that final decision. We'd love to have you one more time. And hopefully, everyone who is here today will feel the need to join, and we will welcome you as part of our Rotarian family. So thank you for coming out.
I missed one person. And inside the packet's just some general information, resources. I hope you'll go online, rotary.org. Our club is douglascountyrotaryclub.org. And want to mention, in addition to major projects such as End Polio, inside your brochure talks about a lot of the local projects we do. We do a lot with kids. We have Apples for Teachers coming up, which is one of our really fun projects. Go around to all the elementary schools and thank a teacher with an apple in front of the kids. And let's see, John Baker, I believe you've been mistaken for the governor and the president before. John and I usually do Mirror Lake Elementary together. We have middle school awards, AIDS awareness education, Star Student Awards. Karen Powell leads an Interact Club at Arlington Christian. We have a foreign exchange. It's really not exchange, I'm sorry. It's a foreign student who attends West Georgia. And Steve Riggs is the host family right now, Becky Davies. We have Ryla, United Way Angel Award for the Youth Volunteer. Ton of stuff with kids in our community. We also support other agencies, Share House, Pregnancy Resource Center, United Way, The Pantry, A Gift of Love, Character Coalition. So we do a lot here and really support our community, but as well, part of Rotary's mission is to be an international service organization. So, at this time, I've got one little quick piece.
Making the world a better place is an intricate puzzle. And piece by piece, the women and men of Rotary have worked hard to fight hunger, promote literacy, and move the world toward peace. But there is still much to be done, still some missing pieces. And one of those missing pieces is you. Learn how you can help Rotary put together a better world at rotary.org. Rotary, humanity in motion.
At this time, I'd like Richard Withers, our secretary, to let us know of any makeups. And also, we have a card pull every meeting, which goes towards some cash for our GRSP student and funding some of our social events. Richard, how many cards do we have unsold, by the way?
We have 5 cards left.
If we can get 5 cards sold, there will definitely be a winner. They're $1 a piece. Anybody got a couple of bucks? All right, we have a volunteer.
You'll get off.
Wonderful. So half the money we raise goes towards our GRSP and socials. The other half goes to the winner of the card pool. And I'll make a couple of announcements very quickly. Next week, we will be meeting at Benton House. We'll see Tim Carter again, most definitely. So please, if you show up here, you're going to have a very hungry time. So please, Benton House off Presley Mill. And Richard, are you ready for a card pull?
I'm ready for a card pull. We'll get Mr. Wortham over here because he's packing.
We really respect a gun in here.
And you will draw the winning card.
Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Diamonds.
Queen of Diamonds. Craig Owens. All right. All right, anyone with any other announcements? Reverend Kaler?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. We have Boys and Girls Club here in Douglas County doing a wonderful job with students. This is our 19th annual spaghetti dinner coming up this Saturday night. It's going to be a First Methodist sports auction as well as a live auction as well, silent auction, a lot of things. The tickets are $10. Again, it goes to Boys and Girls Club. We're in the process of building a new teen center. So if you'd like to have a ticket, see me afterwards, and I appreciate your generosity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Anyone? If not, then I will call us adjourned. Thank you all for coming.